Give us the big finale, Raichu!
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, APDL. We're on the last week of the regular season, and we have a huge game against the Brooklyn Braviaries, coached by good friend Measly. Now, Measly, Peyton, he's been playing out of his mind this season. He's first in our division. He has been stomping teams. He has been doing huge work. And to be honest, what he has in terms of a lineup is pretty dang menacing. Like, all of his Pokemon can pop off it's just so scary. The synergy he has with his team is just unreal. But enough of that. In terms of implications for this game, it is massive. Essentially, we have to win. We have to win. We have to get a 6-0 in order to for sure make it. And if not, we basically have to hope that Team Delta loses. And then if they lose, we then have a chance. If we win, we have to win by a lot, because we won the matchup against them, but our differential is still lower than theirs. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough ask. But if there is hope, if there is a will, there is a way. So let's check out the Brooklyn Braviaries roster and also our roster, which, you know, we've had some changes throughout the season. So let's check out what we got. So looking at our teams here, you might find that we have a little bit of changes that have happened. And, you know, that first pack looking a little different on the Kalamazoo Raichu's end, as we did a roll. And we have now new additions in Gorebyss, Heatmore, and Lycanroc Midnight. Very, very stoked to use these new Pokemon. Thought that we needed a little more flexibility in terms of our picks, and they round out especially the specially offensive side very well. I mean, not Lycanroc, but Gorebyss and Heatmore, that is. And as well, we got the new addition with Lilligant now that we can use. So our team is shaping up to be it's shaping up way better than I thought. But if we look over to the Braviary side of things, oh my goodness, it's so good. Mr. Mime, Technician, the move pool, just nuts. Everything he can do, you can do so much setup, very good speed, very good stats. Tauros Paldea Blaze, Tauros is crazy in this tier. Immune to getting burned. Same with Hariyama with Guts. Basically has two monstrous fighting types that just can't get burned. So that's always fun. Carbink, you know, people sleep on this Pokemon, but it's very good. It can set up, it has body press, it has good stats. Octillery is like okay, but if you look at the core of his whole team, it's either, you know, it's super slow, which means Trick Room's probably going to work very well with this team. Runarigus, great typing, very good in terms of utility. Alomomola, Regenerator with Wish? What? This thing is stupid. Morpeko's not even that bad. Morpeko's good. Glalie is all-rounder, very good. Spike, Explosion, everything. And Vivillon. I'm going to say Vivillon. Vivillon is cracked. I was initially asking Measly here during the season, you know, when we had that one opportunity for trades, if he'd be willing to let go of this thing, because I saw the potential, and of course he does as well. So that thing is not going anywhere. So looking at this team, a lot of good synergies in terms of typing and how, like, you can check and balance with switching in different things to cover in the other Pokemon's weaknesses. But I've rambled so much here. If you want to skip ahead to the actual game, you can go to the time pasted down below. But if you want to kick it back and chill with me in the team builder, we can go over all the sets that we brought this week to try and get us a dub in this pivotal win, which, by the way, update now, we gotta win by at least 3-0 here. So let's head into it. First up, we got Gorebyss making its debut, which is huge. We have a choice spec set, bulky specs, as we're maxing out the HP with a bold nature. Now, this is gonna feel nice, as we're gonna be having defense. That 98 points is just to live a few choice hits from Tauros as well as Hariyama, but we rounding out the rest of the attack, it's still gonna just pump damage as we have Hidden Power Rock, Shadow Ball, Psychic, and Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump is just great stab, just destroys Tauros and Carbink, and yeah, very good damage. Psychic against Hariyama again, as well as Tauros, just as some good coverage. Hidden Power Rock strictly for Vivian, and you know, Shadow Ball against Runerigus and Mr. Mime. Yeah, just overall very, very, very good damage output from Gorebyss. So who knew that this thing had absolutely nasty coverage? I don't know, just very good. So that is Gorebyss. Speaking of newcomers to the team, we're bringing another one with Lycanroc, Midnight. We're trying out an Assault Vest build, and this thing is strictly here to counter Vivian. Now, we do not want to get slept, so that's why we're running Vital Spirit, making sure we cannot fall asleep whatsoever. As soon as we see Vivian, we will just immediately switch into Lycanroc, as we can tank most things with Assault Vest. Again, can't fall asleep. Jolly Nature there, maxing out our attack. And in terms of our attacking moves, we have Rock Blast, which deals huge damage, very good stab. And then again, against the Vivian, in case it wants to run Substitute, we can break through that, or any sashes. We have Play Rough for the more Pekko, the fighting types on the team, Thunder Punch for all those water types like Octillery and Alomola. And finally, Iron Head specifically for Mr. Mime and Carbink. So that is Lycanroc. Very excited to use him this week. Third up, we're bringing the partner in Maushold. This time we are going a pseudo bulky set with 88 points in HP and 168 in speed, just to outspeed some choice threats, and Focus Sash here, just so we can live anything like a Mach Punch, per se, from Hariyama. Technician, of course, for our Population Bomb, as you know, the other two abilities didn't really make sense. But for moves, we are running a Protect, just a Scout. We're going Encore in case once we've protected, he decides to set up. We can then use that as an opening to give ourselves a little bit of momentum here and there. And finally, Sunny Day. Sunny Day is very questionable. No Heat Rock, but it's going to tie in very nicely with our next Pokemon, which is newcomer once again, Lilligant. Brand new team essentially this week, facing off against Braviaries. This is going to be huge. We have Wide Lens here as the item, and Chlorophyll as the ability. So Sunny Day going to be acting with Chlorophyll just to make sure that we can absolutely bump up this speed. And we're a Timid Nature, maxing out the special attack and speed. And honestly, all of our moves are 100% accurate except for Sleep Powder, which we're running Wide Lens strictly solely for the main purpose of making sure we hit that. We really want to hit Sleep Powder. It's going to help us set up some Quiver Dances, and that's one of the main win conditions here this week, as he has no grass types, so Sleep Powder is free game. So wanted to make sure that we could hit that and start boosting, as Giga Drain is going to do some massive damage against most of his team, and the Hidden Power Flying there specifically for Tauros, Hariyama, and Vivian. So that is Lilligant. Very excited to see what it can do this week. Last but not least, you know we got to bring him. It's Claydol. Harkening back to old days of weakness policy. That's right. We're running back with it, and we're going with the Quiet Nature, as we're maxing out our HP and special attack. Again, a few EVs in defense to make sure we can live flare blitzes from Tauros, because that thing is just, it's so powerful, so good. But in the event that we're not getting absolutely ran down by a bull, we have 3 attacking moves in Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, and Psychic, which hit his whole team for either neutral or super effective damage, and Trick Room instead of Rock Polish. So we're not going for the Weakness Policy Stored Power gimmick. This time we're just going to go Weakness Policy just for the free stat boost in pseudo Nasty Plot-esque ways, and then get the Trick Room up so we can hopefully set up Kingler this week as our last set. And boy, is this the set of the week. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait. We have a max HP, max defense build here with Kingler. The nature's wrong. It's definitely bold, or whatever is plus defense. You're gonna love it, as we're going rest curse set. We're going the cursed crab. The cursed crab. That's what we're going to call this set, as our only attacking move is Crab Hammer. But we're hoping that with the high crit ratio, we can, tank past Alola and or Octillery if we need to, as they resist. But everything else just gets smacked with this. So wanted this to be a dedicated answer to Hariyama and Tauros, as the defense on this Pokemon is actually very good. So we have other options to try and counteract any sort of special attackers, but for the most part, his team is very physical. So Kingler, I find, is gonna pop off. So that's the team for the week. Super stoked to try it out. Looking at his team again, I think we have a decent matchup here. So there's only one thing to do, and that's to go check out the game and see how we did. So let's get right to it. All right, the Sauce Boss here versus Mr. Measly 14. Now, you've seen our lineup. This guy, I basically prepped for most of this team, apart from maybe the Glalie and the Octillery. I didn't know he was going to double into the water types, but here we are nonetheless. So he has Carbink, Mr. Mime, Glalie, Octillery, Alola, and Tauros. Paldea Blaze, which is freaking scary. Okay, now in terms of our lead, we're just gonna go with Claydol, see what we can do, and hopefully set up Trick Room right away and bait out a nice hit so we can proc the Weakness Policy. So that's what we do. Nico's into Carbink, which is like, this thing doesn't have anything to, this thing has nothing that I can reliably get Weakness Policy'd off, and I don't want this thing to start setting up Iron Presses or Calm Minds, so I'm a little bit scared. So my play here is to just go Trick Room and then immediately swap into like Kingler or Gorebyss, one of the two, just before hopefully we can just scout and see what this thing does. I go Trick Room, he goes Trick Room. I go Trick Room, he goes Trick Room. We both try and Trick Room 2 times in a row. So not only are we trying to absolutely out mind game each other, this is like the second game in a single season where it's another Trick Room mirror. We can definitely see a pattern with Measly's team here. So both of us try to set up Trick Rooms, and we're just losing our minds in the chat because we can't believe this is happening. So after much deliberation on what to do, because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to set up a Trick Room and that's what he wants, he's probably going to switch. So I'm going to hopefully let him do the work. So I go into Gorebyss and he goes into Octillery. So we both think each other is going to set up Trick Room, and we both don't. So now we're just at even, I guess. But I have no idea what this thing is going to do. I look up and I find that this thing has access to not only Bullet Seed, which we could live because we're defensive, but I don't know if this thing's special or not. So it also carries Energy Ball. Low-key Octillery is like pretty good. He switches, thank the Lord. as I just go for a Psychic, as I was just hoping to scout and do neutral damage. So we get a good chunk off on Alola. Can't do anything locked in the Psychic, and he Toxics the mouse. So that sort of sucks. But we break our stash, and we'll just kind of see what this thing does. So he is going for a switch, and I'm using this time to just go for Population Bomb. And I'll let you see what happens here. Tauros destroys me. That was an absolute tech and a half by Peyton. Clinical. Just completely shuts down Maushold. Not only does he get the Intimidate off, so he just, you know, he's not even under half health. He just straight up destroyed. I just killed myself thanks to Rocky Helmet. So not good. We do not get the Chlorophyll, but looking at the rest of his team, it's pretty slow. So I'm pretty confident that I don't even need the Sunny Day. So I'm just going to go straight into the Lilligant Chill. And knowing that this thing is max defense after those rolls, we're just going to try and get this thing asleep, which is what we do. Thankfully, Wide Lens pays off huge. Now we're just able to set up some Quiver Dances. In comes Carbink. I get it down to 18%. And it's going for Trick Room. Now, I'm pretty sure he just wants this thing to die. So I'm just going to go into Kingler and hopefully use this as a opportunity to get out my boy as I start setting up curses. But Octillery is in here, and normally I'd be okay, but this thing is actually the fastest thing in the game under Trick Room. Compared to both of our lineups that we got. So we kind of got to be wary. So I don't want to take an Energy Ball, as I need this thing in order to pair up against Tauros and or Glalie. I don't know what Glalie's up to, but you never know. So I cannot stay in. I go into Lilligant, reading the grass move, which we do. Still does tons of damage. He switches, which makes me think he's Choice, but I didn't really get that vibe. It could have been Expert Bell as well. But the damage, he does switch. He goes into Glalie. And I now go into Claydol, seeing as though the Trick Room's up. So that's why I thought he switched, because Trick Room is up. So now we're at a straight 1v1 here. I do not want to take any ice moves. He goes for a Trailblaze, which I thought he was going to maybe go for some like special moves. But I just totally get half my health taken off. And his speed rises. So I need to save differential. So I go immediately into Kingler and we eat that up. I know he's going to switch, so I just go for a straight crab hammer, as I don't want to get greedy here and have him have a favorable matchup. So his Trick Room Setter's gone and Mr. Mime comes out. We eat that up with Assault Vest, but we're just not fast enough. So unfortunately, we're not able to really use Lycanroc at all. So maybe Assault Vest isn't the play, or I maybe just had to add some tank on it. But man, that was just honestly, it was just free fodder at that point. So this Mr. Mime is just beast moding. Seeing as though it used Psychic a bunch of times, I'm just hoping and praying that this thing is choiced. So we go in to Octillery. He goes into Octillery. We get off a Shadow Ball, as I thought he was going to switch. Or maybe if he didn't switch, we could at least get some huge damage. He goes into Octillery. We're still faster, so we get a good Spadef drop, which is nice. But one Ice Beam destroys me. We get our Weakness Policy procced. And now we can just Shadow Ball. Just in case you wanted to swap into Mr. Mime, I wanted to ensure good damage. So he retaliates after he goes down into Glalie. We know that we can take huge hits from Glalie with Skooky. So in comes that. We get intimidated, but it's blocked because of Hyper Cutter. That good tech. Crab Hammer starts coming off, and Tauros thankfully does not wake up. So Mr. Mime comes out. We need to swap. this is interesting. 3 Pokemon left. I maybe debated like keeping Claydol around just so we could. I was debating between going in this and Gorebyss because I know I could possibly live a hit from Mr. Mime, but I don't know. It was just like I can either use that and then set up a guaranteed trick room, or it was hard to sort of play around this. So I didn't know exactly what to do, but we end up going to Mr. Mime as we need to save Kingler. And he goes down. So Lilligant's gonna die. Kingler's gonna die. We have our goldfish at 100% health, and we're just hoping that this thing's scarfed because we're at the golden differential. If we lose another Pokemon, we do not make playoffs. Straight up. So we need to play this very, very smart. I go into Gorebyss. I'm just going to click Hydro Pump, try and deal as much damage as I can. He deals a great chunk of damage. We get Hydro Pump. We clean up Mr. Mime. Here comes Alomomola. I'm thinking like, I don't want this thing to like wish pass or do anything. I don't want it to set up either. I don't know what it's meant to do. And I don't like, it could very easily chip away at Gorebyss. And again, I need to make sure that everything is alive. So I know if he wants to Toxic me or do anything or Scald for a burn, I have Rest. So I can just easily tank that off. He doesn't know I have Rest, but maybe he does. I go for Rest here. He goes for Wish, swaps in the Glalie. We start sleep talking. We get a huge crit with Crabhammer, which in the grand scheme of things, I don't think actually matters, because even if he did get Wish passed, we were just going to start setting up curses, and we've proven in the past that we could tank everything that he has very reliably. So he's just with Alomomola, and at this point, I'm just going to let it play through, as we have the option now just to keep cursing. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to keep cursing till we get to our max. We're going to play very smart, making sure that we don't take too much XX damage, as we're just going to play this out. We get up +3. Curse is happening. He has Mirror Coat, which is a very, very cool tech. Maybe trying to use that against Lilligant, things like that, or for the other Toxic. So I thought Mirror Coat is a very cool move. But now, underneath Sleep, we can now start rattling off Crabhammers, and that is going to do massive amounts of damage as we clean up Alomomola, and we do it. So biggest sigh of relief as we manage to clinch playoffs with the 3-0 win against Measly, who very easily could have maybe swapped in Glalie for an explosion. We don't know what it could have done. Probably could have just destroyed us. Find out that he had that after the game. But yeah, GG's again. That was such a crazy game. This is probably the longest I've ever taken doing a Pokemon game, as this was like so back and forth right from the beginning. Just so good. So GG's to you. But we gotta go to the steals. The steals we got. I'm giving away Gorebyss. He takes it, and he takes / leaves behind the Octillery. So water type for a water type, but his water type he's getting is a lot better. It has Shell Smash, has great coverage, it has Swift Swim, Hydration, and I get an Octillery that's slow as balls. So that's the steals. Not too mad, as like I have a lot of Trick Room synergy, but yeah, Octillery, I'm thinking we can find some cool stuff with it. So it's not the worst, but it's kind of a neutral change. So that is the steal. So overall, probably one of the most intense regular seasons ever in APDL. Like straight up, this division was nuts. And we scraped by a win just enough to make it in. And so it's going to be Braviaries and I representing the Skull division as we narrowly edge out Team Delta, which feels so bad as he's like 4-2 +7, which is actually unheard of looking at across the other divisions, as we see like other teams with records that are not there. But like, it's just how it is this season. Definitely made it the most competitive that it's ever been. But man, that was such a good game, Measly. GG's again. I just can't believe our games are always just so close and so much fun. I look forward to them every time. But enough rambling with that. We are headed to the playoffs, which is massive. So very, very relieved that we've made it, and we get to prep ourselves to try and get revenge. As this playoffs is, I'm so excited. There's just the teams in here we got a lot of defending champions coming in, vying for that spot, that #1 spot, along with a few newcomers who, we cannot underestimate. So looking forward to that greatly. We're each going to be getting a potential pack re-roll that we might swap out with, and as well as one guaranteed roster switch up that we can use. So we're going to have a few team changes coming up here, but we'll just have to stay tuned to see who we actually face off against in the playoffs, as that seeding is going to be randomly generated come time when the commish gets that going. And yeah, again, sorry Noah, I don't know, this division was just like so good, so crazy, so close. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking around and watching. This game was crazy, this game was close, and I cannot wait to bring y'all some high intensity octane playoff action from Kalamazoo. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Tell me what you think about us in the playoffs. Tell us what you think our odds are going to be. Tell us if you have any fun, cool, or unconventional strategies you think we should try and pull out against our opponents in the upcoming games. But till then, we'll just say goodbye until playoffs. So yeah, GG's and go Raichu. Peace, guys. Thanks.